Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you at the helm here and also as a member of the U.S. Air Force Academy Board. I think that's great. Congratulations, Senator Tuberville, and both. I want to just kind of have an honest assessment here because I think one of the biggest concerns that we have in the Congress, certainly the American people have, is our so-called elite universities in our country. The Ivy League, for example, that they have become bastions of anti-Americanism, anti-military institutions, anti-Semitic institutions, the top universities in the country. And I think this is a charge that's not some kind of fake charge. My alma mater, Harvard University, has led the way on being anti-military for decades. They still are, in my view, in many ways. They don't respect the service of people in our military. I had an experience that I wrote about in the Wall Street Journal just last year when I visited Harvard. I mean, you couldn't believe it. A giant anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protest put on by a radical group in Harvard Library's Widener reading room during finals. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was stunning how out of touch these universities are. And Americans across the country are like, wait, these are the universities teaching our leaders? It's a real shame. And there's a lot of concern with good reason. So in that Wall Street Journal op-ed, I talked about the experience I saw there recently at Harvard, was shocked at the lack of leadership, particularly Claudine Gay, who subsequently got fired after my Wall Street Journal op-ed. And I wrote, not all university leadership is so craven, morally bankrupt, and afraid of the most vocal, radical sects of their own student bodies. I serve on the Board of Visitors of the U.S. Naval Academy, which, no offense, Senator Reid, is rated the #1 public university in America. The contrast couldn't be starker between the service academies and the Ivy League on issues like civil discourse, so-called safe spaces, trigger warnings, American history, and yes, our unique and exceptional place in the world. So, Admiral, I've seen a lot of what the Naval Academy has done. I think for the most part, it's outstanding. But we have concerns that some of this DEI, CRT, anti-Americanism, anti-militarism kind of is going to seep over to our service academies, which I think is the point of this hearing. And I really appreciate the chairman for calling it. We want our service academies focused on warfighting, lethality, patriotism, and I think they're still, all three of you still are at the helm of the top universities in the country, but there can be improvements, and I think everybody would agree with that. So let me just ask very quickly, General Berenfein, there was a civilian professor at the Air Force Academy named Dr. Lynn Chandler Garcia, published an op-ed in the Washington Post where she stated, quote, she teaches critical race theories to our nation's military leaders because it is vital to cadets to understand history of racism that have shaped both foreign policy and domestic policy. Do you think CRT is vital for future military Air Force officers, General?
Senator Sullivan, thank you. What we are focused on is developing those warfighters, Lynn, those leaders of character and quality, and those critical thinkers to adapt. In accordance with law in the 2024 NDAA, we no longer teach critical race theory at the United States Air Force Academy.
Okay.
But to focus on those critical thinkers, we're delving in hard on teaching our future leaders how to think and not what to think.
Good. That's a great answer. Admiral, you and I have gotten to know each other well. I appreciate your leadership on the at the Naval Academy. One of the big challenges, we just had a hearing yesterday on it, shipbuilding. And do you think having our future naval officers fully understand naval architecture programs is something that should be even though it's not a major for everybody, is that in the core curriculum at the Naval Academy now?
It's part of the core curriculum. I might offer also, we have the second largest wave tank in the nation, which is a backup to Carter Rock, which could be helpful in the future when we're talking shipbuilding. It's exceptionally important to us. We do have a cadre of midshipmen who really focus and enjoy naval architecture, sir, and I'm so pleased that we offer it.
Are there ways to encourage midshipmen, more midshipmen to take up naval architecture as a major? I think it's one of our challenges on shipbuilding right now, and if there's going to be a source of military leaders who understand naval architecture to help us get us out of this challenge on shipbuilding, it's going to be from the academy you lead. Is there ways to do that?
There are ways to relook at this. We're looking at our curriculum right now just to ensure that not only do we follow the executive orders, but also that we're completely aligned with warfighting of the future. And this is warfighting of the future. This is a hot button right now. It would be appropriate to reconsider what we do with the naval architecture. What I do know is we do have a lot of very wonderful midshipmen focused on it right now.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.